After my husband's death, my daughter inherited the house and $33. She threw me out saying, "Go die somewhere else, you're useless now." A few days later, the lawyer smirked and asked, "Did you even read the will?" My daughter's face drained of color when she learned the truth. The will actually said, 6 months ago, I was Margaret Sullivan, 67 years old, a devoted wife of 43 years to my husband, Robert, and mother to a daughter I thought I'd raised to love me. Robert was my rock, stubborn, sure, a bit old school about money, but the man who held my hand through life's storms. When he died of a heart attack at 71, my world shattered. I was still sleeping in the guest room of our big house in Connecticut, unable to pack up our bedroom, when my daughter Victoria swooped in. She was all designer clothes and crocodile tears, cooing about how tough this must be for me. "Mom, you can't manage this house alone," she'd say, her voice syrupy with a concern. The stairs, the upkeep, all those memories. It's too much. I should have seen the calculation in her eyes, but grief blinds you. Victoria was always Robert's princess, his little girl who could do no wrong. She married Kevin, a slick investment banker, and gave Robert the grandchildren he adored. Me? I was the one in the background, cooking dinners, keeping the house perfect, making sure Robert's life ran like clockwork. I didn't mind much. That's what love looked like to me. Sacrifice, support, showing up. But after Robert's funeral, Victoria and Kevin started circling like vultures. They'd show up with glossy brochures for retirement homes, talking about community and activities for your age. What they really meant was, "Mom, you're in the way of our inheritance." The final blow came on a Tuesday I'll never forget. I'd been rattling around in what Victoria now called her house for 6 weeks since Robert's death. She showed up unannounced with Kevin and 2 suitcases like they were moving in for a weekend. "Mom, we've made a decision," she said, her voice clipped. "Kevin got a promotion and we need to move into town. This house is perfect for us." I blinked, confused. "Move in? But this is my home." That's when her mask slipped, just for a second, and I saw the cold, hard truth. "Actually, Mom, according to Dad's will, I inherited everything. The house, the investments, all of it. I've been letting you stay out of kindness, but it's time to find your own place." Her words hit like a punch to the chest. "Victoria, there's been a mistake," I stammered. "No mistake," she snapped. "Dad knew I'd take better care of his legacy than you. You never understood money. You were just the wife. 43 years of love, labor, and loyalty reduced to those 3 words. Then came the killing blow. "Find somewhere else to die. You're useless now." I packed my life into 2 suitcases and a box of photos in a daze. Victoria stood in the doorway, checking her watch like I was holding up her yoga class. "There's a senior complex on Maple Street," she said, like she was recommending a diner. "Very affordable." Affordable? She was inheriting $33 million, and she was suggesting I check into a place 1 step above a shelter. Kevin loaded my bag into their BMW, muttering about how I'd love my independence. Independence, he said. Homelessness, he meant. As we drove away, I watched my house, our house, fade in the rearview mirror. I'd spent 4 decades turning it into a home, hosting Victoria's birthday parties, nursing Robert through his illness, polishing every detail he cared about. Now I was being dropped at the Sunset Inn, a $49 a night motel with thin walls and a carpet that smelled like regret. Victoria handed me $200 in cash, like she was tipping a waitress. "This should cover a few days while you get settled," she said, settled, as if I could rebuild a life with pocket change. That first night, I sat on the sagging mattress, staring at the peeling wallpaper, trying to process how I'd gone from grieving widow to homeless in 3 hours. My daughter, the girl I'd raised, loved, sacrificed for, had thrown me out like trash. But as I sat there, something nagged at me. Robert was meticulous, obsessive about his papers. Years ago, he'd shown me his will, walked me through every detail to make sure I understood. And I was certain it didn't say what Victoria claimed. The next morning, I used the motel's spotty Wi-Fi to track down Robert's lawyer, Harrison Fitzgerald. He'd handled our house purchase, Robert's business deals, everything. His office was a 20-minute bus ride downtown, and I spent my precious cash to get there. Harrison was a kind-eyed man in his 70s, and when I walked in, he looked shocked. "Margaret, I was wondering when you'd come. I tried calling, but Victoria said you were traveling." "Traveling?" That's what she told him. "Harrison, I need to see Robert's will," I said, my voice shaking. He frowned. "Didn't Victoria give you your copy?" I gave her the original and several after the reading. My stomach dropped. "There was a reading." Harrison's face tightened. "You were supposed to be there. Victoria said you were too distraught, that she'd handle everything." The room spun as the truth hit me. Victoria had lied, cut me out, and stolen my life. Harrison pulled out a file, his hands moving fast. "Margaret, that's impossible. Robert's will is specific about your inheritance." He opened the document, and there was Robert's neat signature, notarized, unmistakable. "I, Robert James Sullivan, bequeath to my beloved wife, Margaret Ann Sullivan, our primary residence at 847 Oakwood Drive, all furnishings, and 70% of all financial assets, totaling approximately $23 million. My head swam. $23 million. The house. My house. Harrison kept reading. "To my daughter, Victoria Sullivan Hayes, I leave $10 million in trust. Distributions beginning on her 45th birthday, contingent upon her treatment of her mother following my death. Contingent upon her treatment of me." Robert had known. Somehow he'd seen Victoria's greed coming. "Mr. Fitzgerald," I whispered, "Victoria told me I inherited nothing. She moved into my house. She gave me $200 and told me to find a senior facility." Harrison's face turned red with anger. "Margaret, what she's done is elder abuse and fraud. Felonies." He paused, then added, "The trust provision states that if Victoria fails to treat you with respect and dignity, her $10 million reverts to you." I stared at him, stunned. "You're saying I'm inheriting $33 million plus the house?" Harrison nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Victoria just cost herself everything." The irony was almost funny. She'd been so desperate to grab it all that she'd triggered the clause designed to protect me. "What now?" I asked, my voice barely steady. Harrison's eyes gleamed. gleamed. Now we call the police, and then we call Victoria and let her know her world's about to implode. Harrison's office became a war room. He called the police, the banks, a private investigator. Detective Rodriguez reviewed the forged will Victoria had shown me. Sophisticated, planned, not some impulsive scam. Within hours, Victoria's accounts were frozen, her credit cards declined, the house utilities suspended. At 3:47 p.m., my phone rang. Victoria, Mom, there's a mix-up with the accounts. They're saying Daddy's assets are frozen. I kept my voice calm. Hello, Victoria. I'm with Harrison Fitzgerald. You remember him? The attorney who read the real will while you told him I was traveling. Silence. Then, Mom, I don't know what you think you found. I cut her off. I found out you're a liar and a thief, sweetheart. And your father was smarter than either of us knew. She tried gaslighting me, claiming she was protecting me from managing money I couldn't handle. I laughed, cold and sharp. You forged documents, committed fraud, and threw your 67-year-old mother out because you thought I was too stupid to notice. Her voice turned desperate. Mom, you're confused. The grief. I stopped her. Let me clarify, Victoria. Your $10 million, it's mine now, thanks to the clause about treating me with dignity. And Detective Rodriguez is here if you'd like to discuss fraud charges. She went quiet, probably scrambling for an escape. Mom, can we meet and talk reasonably? She pleaded. We'll meet at the courthouse when you're arraigned, I said, and hung up. The police arrested Victoria that night at a fancy restaurant mid-celebration with Kevin and friends. Kevin was picked up the next morning at his office. A forensic accountant traced the forged will to a printing company Kevin's firm used for shady investment deals. My son-in-law, it turned out, had a rap sheet of financial crimes Victoria either ignored or didn't know about. I spent my first night back in my house in the master bedroom. Victoria had already moved in, her designer clothes and makeup cluttering Robert's space. I packed her stuff into garbage bags and left them on the porch. The house felt different, not because Robert was gone, but because I was seeing it as mine. For 43 years, I'd shaped it around his vision. Now, it was time to make it reflect me. 6 months later, I'm a different woman. The house is renovated, new kitchen, new floors, an art studio where Robert's study used to be. I'm painting again, something I gave up when I became just the wife. I started the Margaret Sullivan Foundation for Elder Protection with $15 million of my inheritance, funding legal aid for seniors facing family abuse. Netflix is making a documentary, The Mother's Revenge, with proceeds going to advocacy groups. Victoria and Kevin are serving 18-month federal sentences for fraud and elder abuse. Victoria sent me 17 letters from prison begging for forgiveness. I read a few, then stopped. Some betrayals cut too deep for apologies. Kevin's mother, Eleanor, tried to buy me off with $5 million to drop the charges. I said no. Then she threatened to expose Robert's shady business dealings. That's when I learned the final twist. Robert wasn't just a businessman. For 12 years, he was an FBI informant, feeding information on the Torino crime family while laundering their money as cover. The $33 million, legally mine, earned through his cooperation. Victoria and Kevin thought they could blackmail me with his crimes, not knowing they were about to expose his heroism. The FBI arrested dozens thanks to Robert's work, and I walked away with my inheritance and my dignity. Do I regret it? The prison sentences, the media frenzy, the family I've lost? No. Victoria and Kevin showed me who they were when they thought I was powerless. They didn't just steal money. They stole my trust, my past, my sense of family. But they gave me something too, the chance to become someone new. I'm not just a widow anymore. I'm a philanthropist, an advocate, a painter, a woman who fought back and won. So, America, that's my story. From a motel room to a Netflix deal, from useless to unstoppable. If you're out there feeling invisible, let me tell you something. You're not. Your voice matters. Your strength matters. And sometimes the best revenge is becoming everything they never thought you could be. Drop a comment, share your story, and let's keep this conversation going. I'm Margaret Sullivan, and I'm just getting started.